Phenomenal Disabilities, a docu-series and podcast by Trelanda Trilo. On today's show, we have global guest speakers, Inessa Missetskaya and Nargiz Yeldenbayeva. Stay tuned. Well, hello. Welcome to Phenomenal Disabilities with Trilo, a podcast brand for disability inclusion and awareness. Welcome, listeners. But before I start my show, just a quick reminder to our listeners to follow us and leave a review. Okay, on today's show, we'll be speaking with our next guests, who are parents of children with disabilities, global advocates, public speakers of inclusive practices, and World Community Development Conference. Nargiz, Inessa, say hello to the world.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here.
All right. You know, before we go ahead and start this show up, I always do this with every show, is describe to my low vision guests what I look like. I am pretty much an African-American, brown-skinned woman. Just in short, a bohemian Afrocentric blend of colorful hair wrap mixed with jewelry, I would say scarf around my neck. And behind me is Phenomenal Disabilities with Trilo. There's a mic behind me. It's a, like I say, mixture of teals and purples and magentas. And ladies, why don't you go ahead and each take your time and introduce yourselves?
Oh, can we introduce each other? We
Sure.
think that it will be a very good idea and
Sure.
good way to show connectedness and sincere contact between people. Yeah. Okay. My colleague Inessa. She's very beautiful girl with open Asian face, and Inessa is smiling right now, and her face expresses light due to her warm and open smile, and her gaze is very attent, and she wearing sky blue blues, and she has a very beautiful earrings. So, and she had a background, white background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Nargiz. And I want to describe how Nargiz looks like. Nargiz is on the white background. This is the white wall behind her. And Nargiz with a beautiful smile, with an open face and sparkles of optimism, always with the sparkles of optimism in her eyes. Nargiz has some Asian features. Her face is, her skin, face skin is white, but her hairs are long and dark and a little bit wavy.
Thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. I want to go ahead and, start this show off with some questions for the both of you. I want to, this is actually, since I actually have been discussing with so many people around the world, so many of the global issues and so forth, I want to tell the world, actually, you to tell the world where you're from.
Yeah, I'm located in Georgia, in Ureki. It's a little seaside town. It's very beautiful. We live in the black coast of Black Sea. Originally, I'm from Kazakhstan, but 5 years ago, I moved with my family, with my 2 children, to live here in Georgia. And now we live and work here.
So I was born in Kazakhstan, and we work with Nargiz in Kazakhstan. And also 5 years ago, I moved here with all my family, with my children, with my parents here in Georgia to become inclusive practices community practitioners. So now we are here, and we are very glad that we have this opportunity to meet people all over the world. And today we are here with you three. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you, tell the world what careers you both lead besides, being a mom? I know you both are advocates in the community. What else do you do?
Yes, we are practitioners in field of community development. We are members of inclusive practices team, and all time we work with our children. We work with disabled people from all over the world, and we are trainers of Inclusive Practices Laboratory, Empathy and Inclusion, and we will talk about it more today. We will show you our practical cases, and that is our profession. That is
Right.
what we do.
Yeah. And Inessa, Nargiz, can you actually tell the world where you, how'd you guys meet? I mean, was it just by coincidence? I mean, give a little backstory on that.
Yeah, I will be glad to answer this question. As Nargiz mentioned, now we are volunteers of Inclusive Practices Organization and Inclusive Community Development practitioners and trainers. You asked about the career we left beside. I was a fitness trainer, and Nargiz. Yeah. And Nargiz, we firstly met 7 or 6 years ago, right?
I think 7 years ago.
7 years ago, yes. When my elder daughter, Lilia, was diagnosed with autism, we were trying to find the place where we can find the society, where we can find the right way to communicate, to learn how to live together with our children, and how to change our family. And we met each other in association of parents with children with disability, with children with autism in particular. So this was the place where we met, and thanks to fate, and I don't know what it is, but I always very thankful that we find ourselves in a proper place with the proper people. So we had this opportunity to move here and to start our career in this sphere.
Right.
So become a professional.
Can you tell the world about your organization and why I mean, I know you two have disabled children, why you decide to devote so much energy and passion into these projects, as well.
Of course, our organization we located in Georgia, as I said, and we have members, volunteers from Kazakhstan, from Moscow, and our work is connected with empathy and inclusion directly. And we are first organization in post-Soviet space which organize the inclusive space, inclusive programs professionally. And me and Inessa, we were the students of first course in post-Soviet space.
I will proceed. So Nargiz was telling that we are the students of the first course on post-Soviet countries, and on the discipline of community development.
Yeah.
And speaking of our organization, as we have children with disability, as we have children with autism, this is the question of how to create inclusive environment, how to create inclusive society. So this is, I can surely tell that this is the only professional organization where we can do that for ourselves and for our children, and we as a network so we have this network on post-Soviet countries, on post-Soviet society, but as the world experience, we had the World Community Development Conference. We hosted it here in Reykjavik, the World Community Development Conference. We organized it together with the International Association for Community Development, the global network.
Right. Can you tell the world in regards to, I know we have a lot of dealing with ADA laws in the United States of our rights, of disability rights, and we're still battling those, within the United States. Even though there is laws that are in place that are supposed to protect us, there's still a lot of, we still have the legal fights that we're still dealing with, depending on jobs and so forth, and family and healthcare, getting the adequate healthcare needed, getting the proper resources, getting proper diagnosis and so forth. Can you tell the world what your experience is globally, where you're at, what you've been dealing with?
If I understood the question right, may I try to give an answer, and then Inessa, you will continue my answer, okay? Laws, of course, laws should be developed and implemented in every country, but due to our practice, we know that it's not enough for community development, and it's not enough to become community inclusive, and it's not enough for development inclusivity in world and to change the society to make it diverse and inclusive. For example, in Georgia or in Kazakhstan or in every post-Soviet country, we know that according to the law, all people, all citizens have the right to receive education and access to the environment, but the social environment and people remain cold and alien, and we know it as practitioners and as mothers of special children. For example, my daughter, she suffers from epilepsy and autism. And I know what does it mean, alienation in environment. And of course, all people, due to the law, they have a formal opportunity to be included in various forms of social life, but inclusion does not occur. The community does not become inclusive. For example, we can send our children to the school, to the inclusive school, to the inclusive class, but classmates will not love him. They will not understand him. They don't know how to communicate with special child, and this is a big problem, huge problem in post-Soviet space. That's Inessa, maybe you will continue.
Maybe I will add just some points to this vision. Yes, of course, the world should be developed in direction of legal, protecting the human rights, the rights of children, the rights of disabled people, and of course, every country should develop in direction of facing discrimination and all this thing. But what Nargiz, you just said, that everything can be done right. Everything can be done. So maybe if we can say ideal from the legal part, but relations between people, this is the open question. and how classmates or friends or just people in the street will look at our children, how they will communicate with them, will they have the possibility and the willing to understand, to perceive their feelings sincere. This is the main question. This is the most important question, and this is what we do in our everyday work, in our everyday living, and this is what we do well. And today we will we will show you the results of our work. And I think that this question is not just about disability and about inclusion. This is not about autism at all. This is about relations between every people in this world, because everyone needs to be within the safety and sincere and truly relations.
Yeah, I would like to add that this question of rights, human rights, and rights of disabled people, inclusive communities, I think it's a question not of how to explain it or how to think about it, but it's a question of practice, because nobody knows how to do this inclusive community, how to make this sincere connectedness between people real, how to change the reality. That is a question. First of all, it's a question of practice. Yes, we're ready, and we will show today two different cases, but two cases with one subject.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
So we would like to give some background before we will show the cases. I want to tell that one case is our practice with cerebral palsy, and the second one, Nargiz will introduce her work in case of totally blind people. But the subject is just one. How to create real, sincere, empathic connectedness between people. And we already started with this topic, yes. And it is scientifically proved that people, every people, they have their comfort zone, and they have their own perception inside of this comfort zone. And our main work is how to create relations within tactile touching, distant tactile touching. And just a couple of words, very briefly. We just want to say that see tactile receptors all over the body, all over the face and lips, in particular is sensitive to the same C tactile receptors of another person. Mm-hmm. And their conscious voluntary distant contact may produce effective interaction between people, right in between of them. That is the biological starting point, neurophysiological starting point to the empathic connectedness. Well, actually, couples, when they fall in love, spontaneously they fall into this receptor connectedness and receive unconscious short-term experience of affective interaction in between. However, conscious control of tactile empathic connectedness plays crucial role in case of disability, in case of inclusion, because this is about empathic connectedness.
Yeah, and a little bit, one little definition, a scientific definition. What does it mean, empathic connectedness? Yes, when we say empathic connectedness, we mean the real sense of the other in between of two people. And the most remarkable quality of empathy is the ability to perceive another person without habitual internal censorship. Everybody have this internal censorship, and it works permanently. So how to do it? How to perceive another person without this censorship? This can be possible only in case of affective state of these C tactile receptors, and only in case of active tactile touching. And disabled people actually feel the threat of the disadvantage of the potential pain. They feel suffering. For example, my daughter, she always feel this suffering, and so they badly need somebody who truly feels exactly that suffering without mixing with his different copies, with his emotional or mental internal models. And it means that both individuals within empathic connectedness start aware themselves together in between their bodies and actually experience sense of the other. And if we're talking about autism or blindness or cerebral palsy, it means that this space in between is closed for these people. This space in between are closed for my daughter with autism, and she cannot feel another person, and she always alone into her body like a prison. And this self-other awareness which exists in between, it's very important to understand that the space in between becomes conscious in this case. Both persons see and feel this space, and they can control this ability to be not inside your body, but here in between, in this space, in this connectedness. And of course, it's possible only if the universal way of perception and action coupling within the actual surrounding environment is working.
Yeah, Nargiz, you wanted to tell about perception action coupling. I just wanted to proceed that it is scientifically proved that every person has this innate reflex perception action coupling mechanism. In everyday living, people spontaneously, involuntarily copy emotional, motor, psychological state of the person they contact with. In an inclusive community, all participants are inevitably drawn into this reflex relations with which leads to depression and anxiety, which leads to professional burnout. On the contrary, in case of conscious empathic tactile touching, both participants control an actual perception and actual action coupling. In our practice, we actualize the neurophysiological ability to learn tactile empathic concern and functionally copy each other's healthy state, motor, psychological, emotional. And I just want to proceed that in case of cerebral palsy, as a trainer of laboratory inclusive practices, laboratory empathy and inclusion, I work in case of cerebral palsy, and we see how tactile touching suppresses efferent copies. And efferent copies for cerebral palsy is the spasm. It leads to spasm. And Pavel our intern, a person with cerebral palsy. Today you will see his case, trains how to control perception, action, coupling mechanism within empathic connectedness, within tactile connectedness. And when both aware themselves together in between, actually see what they feel here in between, and feel what they are talking about. For Pavel, in his case, we will see how his speech will change, how the spasms of facial, laryngeal, articulation muscles, head turning muscles suppresses, and how he starts to speak free. I would say free within the tactile connectedness.
I think we have to start from this case, Inessa, and we will show you today a magic of empathy. It's real magic because Pavel feels it, this effect of empathy, and I think you will see this magic right now in our case. Are you ready to share your screen, Inessa?
Now we are going to watch this short video of how tactile touching, a base of empathic connectedness, copes the problem of cerebral palsy. We will see the initial state of our intern Pavel, person with cerebral palsy, and it will be at the beginning of the video, and the process of his learning and transformation, how tactile connectedness suppresses afferent copies, spasms, as the consequence of cerebral palsy. So shall we start the demonstration?
Practices come into view with an animation of rainbow people gliding in circular motion. Practice exchange, tackling empathetic connectedness, challenge is the key to push the limits of community development and disability. Below that, cerebral palsy case. Pavel, a white man with white hair, he speaks to the audience in Russian.
Here is the part of Pavel's interview before the internship in our laboratory. We can hear and see how the habitual state of the body unconsciously provoke afferent copies and spasms of the core, facial, laryngeal muscles, tense, difficult respiration, and speech.
A video appeared of Inessa and Pavel during their session.
We mentioned before that see tactile receptors all over the body, and especially on our face and lips, sensitive, in particular sensitive to the same tactile receptors of another person. As see tactile receptors are distant, we can easily work due to the screen via Zoom. Now we will start here we can see how tactile receptors of cheeks, eyebrows, forehead, lips of Pavel starts to feel the same tactile receptors on my face. And this is how tactile touching appears, the biological starting point of this tactile empathic connectedness.
Random videos appear of Pavel and Inessa during their sessions.
Yeah, as a trainer, I control distant tactile connectedness of our lips, as well as mutual inhalation and exhalation within the contact. And here is the moment when deep mutual exhalation becomes the base of auditactile vocalization. And this is free of spasms, vocalization in actual space of the contact. And now we will easily hear and see how within the tactile contact, uninhibited sound and intonation increases. Yeah, and now we can see tactile touching not only on face and lips, but the trunk of the body. And Pavel is learning how to use this tactile connectedness and affects his body, affects his skin tactile receptors all over the body. This is the rhythm of the song. And the syllabic forms of this word. And now Pavel is singing within tactile contact with me, and during the vocalization, during intonation, during singing, tactile activity of the body increases, and it gives the biological motivation to sound in favor of contact. And you can hear, you can see how he enjoys this way of singing.
Was there something that he was saying in this video?
This is the song, the words of the song, and he actually sees the lyrics of the song in between and enjoys this process of our mutual presence within this surrounding. This is the song. About the evening beside the river, and about the beautiful river, and all the sounds. It express all the sounds of this evening. Yes, and right now we can see this active tactile concern in between. At the beginning, it was the starting point, and Pavel was not so active with his tactile receptors. And now we can see how both aware themselves in actual 3D space, how he enjoys including to this contact. At this part, Pavel actually sees what he feels within the tactile contact. So we are here in the middle, in between, and he is talking that I am seeing your lips here, and I'm falling down to these lips, and there are no spasms of his facial and laryngeal muscles due to tactile touching. Pavel speaks, and he learned how to avoid the consequences of cerebral palsy. And later, in a few seconds, you will see the difference. You will see and you will hear the difference between his inner state and the current state.
Меня пригласили на Сокольники, масштабный фестиваль.
Yeah, and here's the difference between the two states. So face, laryngeal muscles, articulation, head turning muscles, as well as difference. We can see the difference of his eyes activity and of course his speech. So now,
and what did he just communicate to the world? Can you interpret what he tell the English audience what he just stated here?
At the beginning, he started to with his introduction. How he worked in a fund. This is the fund in Moscow, and here he is speaking about episode of his work in fund. and he's one of the directors of the fund. And this was the starting point of our work, this condition of his speech. So now he's a different person. I mean that the state of his body, the state of his face. This is just phenomenal changes, and we can see the activity of his eyes, the activity of his speech, and his involving into our everyday conversation. Even these things changed. So this is how we do it.
I love it. I love it. I love his beautiful smile. You can see his energy, the light just bright.
Yeah, Pavel, he's a brilliant person, always moving forward, always ready to work, always like on duty. I can say that he's one and maybe the most disciplined intern in our internship course, and I think this is his main contribution to our work. He's always ready to change himself. He's always ready to acquire new tasks, to develop himself, and he really feels his actualization within this work.
Yes, Pavel is very motivated, and now I will show the second case, practical case, and the main hero of this case, very beautiful lady from Belarus, from Minsk. Her name is Masha. Okay. So this is a short video about how tactile touching activates tactile vision in case of total blindness. Masha is totally blind person. She's a member of inclusive choir in Belarus, in Minsk. And also she's an intern of our laboratory Empathy and Inclusion. And she's totally blind from birth, and she has never ever seen light. And in this video, we will see Masha's initial state and the process of learning tactile vision in empathic connectedness with the second person. So let's start. Now here we can see initial state of Masha. Due to the blindness, she always feels physically trapped. Here we see that she stands passively and does not orient herself in space. She sings, but she does not see the plot of the song, and she is not in this plot. Masha can't move inside the content of this song, and she can't imagine it, this plot. Her body is turned off, and this is the state from which we started working with Masha.
An inaudible video is captured of Masha singing to the audience.
And here we show how the training takes place. On the right side, we see the first couple.
Mm-hmm.
First couple on the right side, it's my colleague Olga and our young assistant Dasha. And on the left side, we can see our intern Masha and the choir director Elena. She helps to Masha in this work. So Olga and Dasha show tactile touching by activating the C receptors of the lips, fingertips, face and neck. How they do it? Yelena and Masha, in the left side of our screen, they chase Olga and Dasha. They chase in and learn how to activate tactile touching. As Inessa said, it's absolutely real to make due to the screen because these receptors are remotely activated. Now we can see that our trainers express this active state of tactile receptors, and Yelena and Masha get the reaction we need for activating tactile vision through perception action experience of trainers. Now on the left side of our screen, we can observe how the tactile sense of the second person appears on the fingertips, then on the face, Masha's face, shoulders, and spread throughout the body. Here we can see the active state of C tactile receptors between Masha and Yelena, and the active state of the receptors leads to an effect in empathic connectedness with the second person, and both aware themselves together in between. That is a biological starting point of empathy, and we can see it right now.
An inaudible video captures Marsha and her therapist rehearsing.
Her eyes is very active, and here we see how Masha begins to see the content of the song through tactile touching. Masha's visual cortex is not working, but the most important part of the visual system in our brain is working. I'm talking about thalamus. And it means that we can activate Masha's constructive imagination within the empathic connectedness. Here Masha explains how she sees the lyrics of the song with tactile blind vision. Elena asking her, how did you see this scene? How did you feel this content of the song? The song is about river, about evening by the river, about the sounds, about the couple on this river, which hear and feel music of this evening. They stand on the garden, beautiful garden with beautiful trees and flowers. And Masha here explains how she sees all these details of the song. She really feels this river. She feels that both of them, Yelena and Masha, are standing on this river and hear the music, feel the evening, the atmosphere of evening. And Masha sees all this with her constructive imagination. Yeah, okay, so Masha is dancing and she's absolutely free. She navigates herself in space. Look at her. So I think it's obvious how well she feels during this dancing. Due to this tactile vision and active state of tactile receptors, C receptors, She can orient in space, in 3D actual space. That is why she dancing so freely, and
I
she's so
love it.
happy.
I love it. I love her happiness. You can just see her energy.
Yeah.
Great dancer, by the way.
And it is obvious that if we will compare Masha, totally blind person, with people in this hall around her, she expressed this freedom. She can orient in this space, and we cannot tell that about all other people in this on this video.
Okay. So here in this scene, we see how Masha and her choir is singing at the concert. And here you will see how Masha really feels what she sings about. Everything is clear to her. Let's look. Oh, she sings about the beautiful city of Tbilisi. It's a capital of Georgia. And while singing, she can see, feel, and move in the plot of this song. She can see the mountains of Georgia, the Georgian sun, all citizens in Tbilisi, and she can walk around them during the singing. Oh, their voices like an angel voice, very beautiful. And talking about tactile vision and tactile touching, I would like to say that in case of blindness, this becomes vitally important. For example, Masha, as I said, her visual cortex is damaged from birth, and she does not even see light. But due the tactile touching, she can actually reproduce, imagine. It's a blind sight vision, blind sight effect, what she really feels. Thanks to such kind of the tactile vision, Masha, and we can see it right now, can perceive the contours and dimension of objects in 3D space, to perceive distance and depth, to distinguish colors and the structure of objects. That is why she's starting to feel mountains and snow on these mountains, sun, leaves, trees, flowers. It becomes possible because we activate her constructive imagination and afferent perception via visual motion perception pathway in the actual 3D space. And during our classes, Masha trains how to control perception action coupling within the empathic connectedness with the trainer. And now you can see that here on the right side, Masha sees nothing, and she's imprisoned by her body state. And on the left side, Masha can see, and she sees with tactile vision and constructive imagination what she's thinking about. So we can see that Masha is free from the limits of blindness. It's very important.
I'm actually so happy that both of you have introduced this so the world can really understand, and is really informative. That I mean, I was not aware of the technique. I know there's so many different techniques of with different disabilities. I know with my disability was stuttering, and I still have it, but I go through a process now where I take my time as much as I can when I'm trying to articulate. I know that's a process that I went through with speech therapy, and there's so many different tools that every therapist uses for disabled people, and I love how you're connecting. You guys use all these tools to connect with everyone.
Yeah, we have a really strong neurophysiological Western background. And of course, when we are talking about this serious questions of blindness, of autism, of cerebral palsy, any kinds of disability, and we already started that this is the inner state of every human being. In our work, we just teach how to use it consciously and how to copy here in the middle, in between of two people, how to develop each other within this contact. And that's why the approach is holistic. This is not about blind people. This is not about cerebral palsy. This is not about autism per se. This is about holistic state of the body, holistic awareness, and it can be possible only within the tactile connectedness with another person.
Right. I wanted to talk to you both about, I know this kind of segueing off to some questions, some personal questions for both of you. Can each of you kind of discuss about, can you tell the world in regards to your experiences of the traumas that each of your children experience out in the world? Either from someone may have triggered their anxiety, or just certain situations. You can give me one example, and then kind of expressing to the world what they can do better with that.
May I start?
Yes.
Yeah. My story begins when my daughter was born, and when my daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy, and after 2 visits in the intensive care unit and near-death experience, I understood that full-fledged development of my child doesn't depend only on my own efforts or those of doctors, and it was a very difficult period for me because I was depressed. I didn't know what I have to do. How can I help to my child? What I have to do for her ability to be for her ability to development, and for her ability to be included in society. And I saw that she needs a society where she needs a diverse and inclusive society where sustainable development of a human is a norm, where child with special educational needs, child with different forms of disabilities should be and might be developed. So it was a very difficult question for me, how to do it, how to make it possible for my child. So the discovery that changed my life was some kind of understanding that the only way for me to help my child is to put all my energy, to put all my efforts not on her own development, but in the development of environment, development of community we live in. And I believe that person is a result of relationships in environment. If all people live in alienation, there is impossible to develop personality. Only in environment which have a value of sustainable development, value of inclusive, value of inclusive and diversity, every person can develop itself. And it's obvious for me that community development is only one possible way for my family, because only in community people can develop their awareness, people can develop the empathic connectedness between them, and my child can overcome her autistic state and overcome her own limits. That's what I would like to say to the world. I would like to say that you have to push your own limits. You have to find the way to this sincere connectedness. You have to find people who need in this connectedness as you need it. And sometimes people they can't find energy, power to change the reality, and it's very difficult situation for people, and sometimes people cannot find the motivation to change this reality. But my child and my colleagues, this is my main motivation, and only in sincere contact with another person we can actualize our biological need to be involved in social active state. I'm sorry for my English. It's not my native language.
No. It's perfect. It's perfect. You expressed it perfectly. I mean, I was gonna segue on that and say, you know, I know you're also in. This is not only what you just stated is just for people in general, but just also brand new parents of disabled children that are trying to figure it out, are trying to navigate. And I know this is what this is your words of wisdom for them as well. You know, because there's a lot of parents who are new that don't know. You know, they're like, how do I do this? And they get overwhelmed. And what you said was perfect. You know.
I want to add something from my point of view, and I'm absolutely agree with what Nargiz just said. Maybe just in short, I will tell that my elder daughter, she's 9 years old. She has autism. And of course, when we are talking about trauma, about anxiety, this is the this is the permanent state of autistic person, the state of defense, the state of danger, the state of trauma, and I and my colleagues and we aware and we consist that the question, the key to solve this problem, the key to solve this issue, it is in between. We cannot change the person. We cannot change his state if we are working with him, and if we are trying to develop and to change his and if we are trying to contact with the disease. And this is the main insight. The main insight for myself, because we started this way. We started this way 6 years ago, and we are in frustration. We didn't know what to do and where to find the answer and what to do, and it was panic. And right now, I can say to the world that as every person is a result of social relations and development of individual. This is the product of developing of the society and the developing of the relations in between people. We need to mobilize all our motivation, to mobilize all our power, all our energy to develop the contact, to develop sincere contact, and to make this the main subject of our life, because we see it in our practical work, we can see it in our everyday living, how the development of the community, how the development, when I say community, I speak about my colleagues, for example, or our family as a small community. But the question is in between, and the key is in between. And when we aware this, when we start to look at the relations, not to people, this is you and this is me, and let's cope together, and let's try to find the one way. We will never find that.
Right.
Even only if we are starting to, if we are coming here and push our limits, as Nargiz said, when we overcome this limit of our comfort zone, and everyone has it, and meet each other here in between, we can say that the process will start and the development will start, and we have the future in case of disability and just in case of any person.
Well said, well said. I commend you both for having so much energy as mothers, as professionals, and how do you do it? I mean, when you find time for yourself, when do you find time for yourself?
Oh, I can say that it's very simple to understand that there is only two ways for us. First way is total depression and very sad life.
Or stressed out.
Yeah. And second way for us, it's to be in this holistic energy state, which is absolutely alternative to this depression. Or depression or empathy. And all people know it. All people know it, that only one way, there's only one way to overcome this state when you're have a low energy, your body is very closed, turned off. There's only one way, it's empathy. You always need a second person in your life, friend, child, family, yes, and this is so normal, this is so natural for people, but the problem is that nobody knows how to do it. Nobody knows how to do it, and it exists spontaneously. And as Inessa said, for example, as couples falling in love, yes, it's like fire between people. It's an affect state of C receptors. But our secret is that we know how to activate C receptors consciously, and this is subject of our work. This is subject of our life. We try to change the reality for us, for our family, for our children in our community, and we try to express our experience to the world. And it's very important for us. And Pavel, Pasha, and Masha are good examples of our work. Their state, their victory, their how they their transformation. It's the best illustration of our work and the best illustration of this choice. What do you prefer? To be in depression and in low energy state, or you will be in sincere, natural, normal connectedness with other people? That is my question. Thank you.
Inessa?
Nargiz, absolutely nothing to add. Maybe just one detail that we cannot separate our work, our life within the family, our social position, social activity. This is our life. This is how we live. This is how we work. This is how we communicate with our children. This is how we communicate with our parents. And if you have just one way of living, just one relation to any person who will come here, it is easy. It is easy. This is the way how you get up in the morning, and this is the way how you go to bed. So
Exactly. Well said. I use my morning ritual every day is my meditation in the morning. And I use my meditation at night before I go to bed. Sometimes I may meditate if I'm out in the afternoon, depending on what's going on. You got to stay in that homeostasis frame of mind, calm, if not, your brain will just, go so many different places, especially for me with my neurodivergent disabilities, I have to be very mindful and be careful, because it can trigger and offset other, emotions, and that's the same applies to anyone that goes to any disability, practice meditation, practice something that you love doing, going out. If you like to go to the beach and put your feet in the sand, and let the water go through your toes and just stand there and breathe and smell the ocean air. I say simple things that people forget to do. Give people hugs. People forget the simple connection of a hug.
yeah, truly, you said about the morning meditation, and I just wanted to add that if you remember early in the morning, before you open your eyes, if you remember that there is somebody who waits for you, who is waiting for you, and if you will wake up with this feeling, with this state of your body, that somebody is waiting for you, and you will have this contact and you will have this cooperation, your day will start perfect.
Well said. Well, I want to ask you a question, this last final question, and I kind of want you both to kind of like think. It'd be one sentence or two. Can you tell the world what disability isn't to you?
May I start? As usual. I think that disability is any kind of disability. It's a message to all the world. It's a message about biological need of all of us to be in this sincere empathic connectedness. And this ability, in fact, is extra ability, because disabled people, they understand and they express all the things which all how to say, all people without disability, they can forget about it. But disabled people cannot do it because they have neurophysiological mechanism, pain pathway, and this pain pathway works permanently, automatically, and it's a reflecting state. And that is why I know that disability is extra ability, in fact. And it's opportunity for all of us to change our lives, to make something important for all the world, for change this world and make it better.
Well said. Inessa?
Yeah, from my side, I would like to say that disability is not the reason for alienation, and disability is not the reason to whitewash yourself. Disability is the opportunity to change yourself, and this is the opportunity to try to find the answer. What is the relations in between people in this world? So I guess this is my point.
Thank you so much. Ladies, I really want to tell you thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on my show. It's been an honor and pleasure. I look forward to more of these talks and invite you to a large public speaking, panel speaking globally throughout the world of other speakers that will love to participate, and connect, because we all need to continue building, connecting. There's so many of us out there that we need to continue this fight and continue working passionately our motivations of building each other up and strengthening, ourselves up as well. On that note, until next time, this is Phenomenal Disabilities with Tree Low. See ya.
Follow us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and many more.